Hello. Short presentation on Hitler's Antarctic base and Operation Highjump, Hitler's supposed Antarctic base. A number of authors without evidence claim that the USA sent Operation Highjump to Antarctica in 1947 to eradicate the secret German base in Dronning Maud Land. Buchner and Bernhardt, for example, suggest that interrogation of the U-boat crews from U-530 and U-977 had revealed that the Nazis had built massive underground complexes where manufacture of advanced aircraft, including flying saucer prototypes and other weapons, were being developed. The rationale for Operation Highjump, therefore, was to locate and destroy this budding complex. Mattern and Friedrich claimed that Admiral Byrd said that Operation Highjump was an effort to break the last desperate resistance of Adolf Hitler in case we find him in his Neubergsgarten inside New Schwabenland in the Queen Maud Land region, or to outright destroy him. Farrell tells us, outfitted for a stay of 8 months, the expedition encircled the German claimed territory of New Schwabenland, Admiral Byrd stationing the naval vessels off the coast, and then advanced the ground troops in aerial reconnaissance from the pole towards German territory. Allegedly, the German base was quickly found, overthrown, and some type of bomb detonated on the position. The problem with these stories is that they link the U-boat crews, the interrogation in mid to late 1945, to the sudden American interest in Antarctica without considering other possible reasons, or taking into account the long-standing interest of Admiral Byrd in polar research. Operation Highjump was the largest ever expedition to Antarctica, comprising over 4,700 men with 33 aircraft on 13 ships, including the Coast Guard cutter Northwind. An aircraft carrier was there, the USS Philippine Sea, a submarine, USS Sennet. It was authorized by Admiral Nimitz. It was actually a US Naval operation that took place in southern summer of 1946 to 47 under the command of Rear-Admiral Cruzen, with Admiral Byrd, now retired, acting as officer in charge of the project. What was actually the purpose of this mission? 1. Training personnel and testing equipment in frigid conditions. 2. Consolidating and extending U.S. sovereignty over the largest area of Antarctica possible. 3. Determining the feasibility of establishing, maintaining, and utilizing bases in Antarctica and investigating possible base sites. 4. Developing techniques for establishing, maintaining, and utilizing air bases on ice, with attention to operations in interior Greenland, where conditions are comparable to those in Antarctica. 5. Amplifying existing stores of knowledge of hydrographic, geographic, geological, meteorological, and electromagnetic propagation conditions in the area. 6. Supplementary objectives of the Nanook expedition. Highjump was primarily a military operation and not a scientific expedition. It was meant to train the Navy in polar operations. The U.S. saw the Soviet Union at the time as a threat and as an Arctic theater of warfare being likely. Evidently, Operation Highjump was an early exercise of the coming Cold War. It was decided to carry out the training in Antarctica, where conditions were similar to Greenland, and thus avoiding a diplomatic incident by having a full-scale military operation in areas relatively close to the USSR. Operation Highjump actually was widely publicized at the time. There were 11 journalists aboard the Highjump ships. 2011 messages were transmitted to Radio Washington, and they were then transferred to the journalists' employers. Some, such as Byrd, actually wrote books about the expedition. The U.S. Navy published 3 volumes which served as an official report on the expedition. The report was never even classified top secret. If the supposed German base had been the target of Operation Highjump, it would have been focusing on landing at or near Dronning Maud Land, but instead was focused on Byrd's Little America 4 base on the Ross Ice Shelf, and it's actually on the opposite side of the continent from where the Germans had done some early expeditions in 38-39. The Americans showed no interest in any German base, but were interested in Dronning Maud Land in terms of claiming territory. The German expedition of 38-39 and its intention to claim territory, that would have been the New Schwabenland, stimulated the U.S. government to undertake its own expeditions to Antarctica for the first time in 100 years in support of possible U.S. claims to territory. On November 25, 1939, it established the U.S. Antarctic Service to maintain permanent stations on the continent. The service's first expedition docked in the Bay of Whales on January 12, 1940 to build Little America 3 Base on the Ross Ice Shelf. This was also known as West Base. East Base was set up on Stonington Island on the west coast of the Antarctic Peninsula. Both bases carried out an extensive program of land and aerial survey as well as scientific studies. In the next lecture, we will look at Admiral Byrd and the supposed relationship with UFOs. Thanks for listening.